Good morning. My name's Jo Middleton and I head up Canine Principles, the International School for Canine Psychology and the National Institute for Canine Ethics. We put a poll out in this group asking what you'd like more training about today, and the vote was more training about the most common mistakes made when working with rescue dogs. So I've made a little list. This is right up my street because rehabilitating dogs using cognitive led methods is my sort of niche, if you like, my expertise, because I've been working in rescue for a very long time and have rehabilitated hundreds and hundreds, literally, of foster dogs and dogs in kennels. So the most common mistake that we see is when people expect too much too soon, and that goes from the fosterer all the way through to the adoptive home. So I'm actually going onto a podcast with Sam Wayland and Colin Spence about this, because they recently said about binning the 333 that we talk about sometimes in rescue, and I'm going on to challenge them on that. So we say 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, to give people a more realistic expectation of how long it can take for their rescue dog to decompress, to actually get used to the new environment that they're living in, learn what the new human in their life, body language means, and how they can actually become part of that family unit. Whereas a lot of bounce back dogs will come back within the first couple of weeks and they'll be like, oh, it's not working. Whereas actually it takes time. So not to expect too much too soon, because expecting too much too soon is one of the most common mistakes that we see. Sadly, another common mistake that we still see is using harsh training methods, punitive training methods, or the balance approach. In my head, it's very clear. It's either kind and ethical or it's not. Just because I hurt someone and then give them a Haribo afterwards doesn't make it right to hurt them in the first place. So using harsh training methods, particularly, well, with any dog, but that sadly is still very common. So everything needs to be done kindly, as we do at Canine Principles, with positive reinforcement, using reward-based training. But for me, it's about helping them to use their brains more, so that they're not in that state of learned helplessness that we see so often. And you're able to then work with them on games and puzzles and tricks, if they're in a position mentally that they're able to cope with that, even if it's just doing scatter feeding and working with them to find the food. You're working as a team with them for something that they want, rather than them seeing you as putting pressure on them. Rushing socialisation is another area that we often see too much too soon. They need space. They need space for their emotions to start to regulate, and for them to come to terms with losing everything that they knew, potentially, or coming from a situation that they were in. And even if it was an abusive situation, they will have been attached to their abuser. So rushing socialisation is another common mistake that we see. Body language being ignored is another one. Ignored or not recognised, maybe, or not being paid enough attention to. The subtle lip lick, the subtleness of the ear position, the whisker position, the subtleness of just a head turn away. All of these things, tension, furrowing of the brow, the body language just stiffening, for example, all of these things need to be picked up on. So it's really important that we continue to educate people about body language, because that is how the dogs are communicating to us. And we need to understand that the way that dogs have been bred by humans, it means that every dog's body language may be slightly different. So for example, a beagle with a tail, has been bred for its tail to be upright. If you saw that in another breed, that would mean something completely different potentially to a beagle's tail position. So we need to bear in mind that those subtle body language signs we need to be picking up on, even if it is just lip licking or a yawn where it's processing something. That is absolutely one of the most common that we see with mistakes being made with rescue dogs. For example, oh, he bit me, there was no warning sign, when actually the dog was on its bed and the human had gone in for a cuddle or something, and the dog's like, I've told you, I've turned my head away, I've removed myself to the place that's supposed to be my safe space, and then you've still carried on coming at me. A couple more. One is lack of consistency. The dog is trying to get to grips with a lot going on in its life. It's potentially traumatized by previous happenings before it came into rescue, and then it's come into rescue. It's got the energy of all of the other dogs, the fear it's picking up on, the stress, the anxiety of all the other dogs around it. So it's really important that we provide it with the consistency and the stability, the structure, the clarity, and how we're communicating with it consistently, so that it is then able to feel safe and just start to unpack its bags. One thing, sadly, I've got 2 more points, sorry, I know this is a bite-sized training, so I've made a little list, so I'm going to try and keep it concise. 2 more things. One is humanising the amount of affection that the dog will want, and because we're feeling a rush of love for that dog, wanting to touch it, wanting to be hands-on, wanting to cuddle it, that's not fair to put that pressure on a dog, any dog, never mind a rescue dog. We need to be doing things on their terms and giving them the choice and the autonomy to decide how they want to be interacted with, and that is never more important than with a rescue dog. And unfortunately, one of the most common mistakes that we do see is where people are really and children as well, which is dangerous too. But it's really important that we are able to educate humans, and I really do believe that training the human is as important as training the dog, and for us all to have a responsibility ourselves to continue our learning and to continue our growth, and to make sure that we are training humans as well as training the dog. Because if you're a professional, for example, you might be seeing a dog for an hour a month, an hour a week if you're lucky. The human is the one that's going to, the other human that is involved in the dog's life is the one that you need to be training, not the dog necessarily. So affection on your terms. And then the final one, which is a little scary, I see, sadly, is not addressing fear-based behaviours. And this happens more often in breeds like the working cockers, the Labradors, the Golden Retrievers, the breeds that people think are cute and would never bite. Their fear-based behaviours, like their growling, cowering, and even like air snapping towards people to say, jog on, I'm not happy with this interaction, gets ignored. And that is really concerning, because that will culminate potentially in a bite when the dog feels it has no other choice. And we're not setting those dogs up for success by going, oh, aren't they cute, aren't they cuddly, oh, he laughed at me and he's smiling. No, he was baring his teeth and he was telling you that he wasn't happy with the situation. And we also see it a lot with smaller dogs being picked up, so they've had their flight option removed from them, they're not able to run away from the situation, and then they've got a stranger's hand coming in over the top of their head, potentially to what they might perceive as a kill spot at the back of the neck there. So actually, we need to make sure that we're paying attention, no matter what size, no matter how cute and fluffy the dog is, to those fear-based signs that the dog is communicating with us. And the final point I wanted to make was that is absolutely one of the most common mistakes that we see being made when working with rescue dogs. So I hope that bite-sized training is useful for you. If you want more information about the Canine Principles courses, head over to canineprinciples.com and check them out. We've got loads on there for you to choose from, ranging from free ones all the way through to degree levels. So wherever you're at with your learning journey, and whether you're a dog guardian and you have a particular challenge with your dog's behaviour that you want to learn more about, or maybe you are a professional looking to be the best version of yourself that you can for your clients and the dogs that they have, then check it out, and we shall see you over in the student group very soon. Have a wonderful day.